The RX 350 is our best seller and has been for a number of years. So, of course, I get asked a lot of questions about it. And since I've been doing these question and answer videos, it seems like the viewers, you guys, have been liking them and adding more and more questions. So, without further ado, let's get into some Lexus related questions. In no particular order, but I did save a very interesting question for the end. Let's get into it. So, why did the RX get rid of the V6? I get asked this question all the time. Yes, the V6 was loved for many, many years. Almost too many years. Because it was so reliable and had so much power, Lexus and Toyota used that engine in so many different platforms. Everything from the Sienna to different variants of some of our sedans. And as time goes on, we see the market and the industry going to smaller and smaller, more fuel-efficient engines with things like turbochargers. And for the RX, it was just time. Lexus knew it was time to redesign the whole platform itself, so why not base it off of a different powertrain? A turbocharged 4-cylinder. Now, this 4-cylinder does sit lower to the ground and have less weight, so the handling and things like that are increased. And what I found was, since Lexus is one of the only manufacturers that produce those turbos in-house instead of subletting them to someone like Garrett or Mitsubishi or some of the other brands do, they still are able to hold on to that reliability a little bit. But only time will tell, let's be honest. So that's why they got rid of the V6. Why does the RX 350h say premium gas is recommended, but you said in one of your videos that it's not? Very tricky question. So yes, the RX 350h does technically have specs online with recommended premium gas, not regular. Recommended premium gas. I almost tripped up saying that. However, the only reason it's recommended in that spec is that means Lexus used premium gas to actually measure the fuel economy of the car. Whenever you see that premium gas is required, like on some of the other Lexus vehicles, that means in terms to be able to create longevity of that engine and produce the power that they're saying, you have to do premium gas. But the RX 350, you can definitely do regular. I've heard that right from Lexus's mouth. That's what you can do. Dustin, if you could change anything about the RX, what would it be? Okay, there's two things I would change. One is I would add massaging seats to those front seats. I know it's a mid-size SUV and it's a really affordable price point, but that's such a next level feature. And the RX is already so luxurious that to me, it seems like a full-size luxury SUV, like the way it drives. And I think having massaging seats would just level it up. I mean, we see it in some of the other competitors in the same segment, so why not? Especially because the new GX massaging seats are super, super nice, and I think that they could be on that. The other thing I would change, and I'm gonna get some hate for this for sure, is I would put a twin turbo V6 under here, like the GX 550 engine, or like what we see in the LS. I would put that under this, and I think even though it would be a lot heavier and it'd be front heavy, I think it would be super cool to have a very high horsepower RX. Kind of like what we see with like the BMW X5M or something like that. So those are the two things I would change. Dustin, when will the RX 350 be redesigned again? Well, we only saw this come out like in 2023. So I would say it will be at least close to 5 years from then. So maybe, I don't know, 2028, 2027, something like that. I know definitely 2025, there isn't really gonna be much of a change. So probably still a few years away. Maybe they'll see some tweaks to colors and stuff, but for the most part, we're still a long ways away. Dustin, what is your favorite interior of the RX? Funny question, because my mind changes all the time on this topic. That's one of the bad things, is one of the only few bad things about working at a dealership, is I always see the shiny new thing and I want it. So for the RX, my new shiny new thing is the Palomino interior, or any light interior really. And it all started with the LCD smoke. But having something like a Palomino interior with like a white exterior, a black exterior, or even a Nightfall mica exterior, I find it just creates this really classy driving experience where you can really appreciate some of those finer details in the interior. Most of my cars that I own have black interior and I like the versatility of that, but I find I don't get to see all the little details. So long story short, Palomino would probably be my new favorite for the RX. Okay, Dustin, is the RX 500h worth it? It seems like it's a big jump in price. Yes, the RX 500h is a jump in price. It's almost tailored to a market that's different than the RX 350. But in my opinion, yes, it's worth the price. The whole driving experience is different. It doesn't feel like an RX 350. You have a lot more weight and a lot more power, and overall, just the way the suspension is tuned and everything like that, it's a get up and go truck. And I say truck because the RX 500 to me, when you drive it, feels more like a truck or a high performance SUV than the cushy RX 350. So if it's caught your eye, you've probably already done the math and you're probably trying to justify it, you should just buy it. You should just justify it. It's one of those things where life's too short to drive boring cars, and the RX 500h is definitely far from boring. Dustin, which is the most popular package for RX? Well, right now, let's just start with this. The RX has so many different variants. We have the RX 350, we have the RX 350h, and then the RX 500. In the RX 350 alone, there's like 7 different packages. On the 350h, there's like, still 4 or 5. And then the 500, there's 2. So there's a lot to choose from. I would say if we're just thinking of the RX 350, and that gives you like, all the F-Sports and all the premium luxury, ultra luxury executive stuff like that, I would say the most popular are these 2. Luxury, because it's priced well in the middle. You're still getting a lot of features for a really affordable price, and you're not really paying for anything that you're not gonna use, with the exception of the sunroof. I get that not everybody's gonna use the sunroof. Also, F-Sport Series 2. Now that's pretty much in line with the luxury, it always has been, and except for you're getting a little bit more of that styling. So those F-Sport wheels, that F-Sport grille, those F-Sport seats. So those 2 always just come down to preference, whether you like the sport or the luxury. But in terms of actual like bang for buck, those are both great places to start. Now, with that said, I always tell my guests, if you want or feel like you're missing out on 2 or 3 features in that next package up, it's probably worthwhile to go up in package, because we all know when you go to sell it or trade it in, having a higher package does retain some extra value, especially in terms of future proofing. Why does the RX 350 have premium gas required? So really similar to the question earlier, but a little different. So in this question, we're thinking about the turbocharged RX 350. The reason it needs premium and is required and not recommended is because of that turbo, or this is what I'm told at least. And the premium gas is going to help keep things clean, I've heard. So things like carbon buildup, those injectors, even just the fact that the engine is working harder and burning hotter because of the turbocharger. So we really want to focus on longevity, and that's the way it's tuned, so we got to do it. Okay, Dustin, my RX beeps several times when I lock it. Why is this? And I should have given you a shout out in the comment section, but I didn't write down your name. But very great question. The reason it's beeping at you, the first thing I would check is there anything sitting on your rear seats? Because there is a feature, I think it's like, I don't know what it is, but it's like, did I forget my kid in the car feature? I can't remember the name of it. And what it is when you lock your car and you're going away from it, if you have something on those rear seats, the car's just telling you, hey, you forgot something on your rear seats, or maybe someone, or maybe your dog, your kid, or whatever. So it did happen to me a number of times, and every time I lock an RX now, and I hear that, I'm like, oh, something on the rear seat. So that could be why. Okay, here is the long question, and I'm gonna do my best to try and answer this. Here's a straight question that requires a truthful answer. I'm a Lexus guy for the last 24 years. I hear a lot of horror stories here in the US regarding RXs being made in Cambridge, Canada. Knowing that the RX is made in Canada only, and also knowing about the Takumi tradition, yo, shout out to you for knowing what Takumi is, available only in the Tahara factory, which is in Japan. All of my Lexuses have been made in Japan. Why would I buy anything else, Lexus brand, that's not made in Japan, is what this person is saying. This is awesome. I love this question very, very much, and I'm super passionate about it. For one, amazing that you pay attention to things like Takumi and the Lexus brand values that all originated in Japan. I do have a little bit of experience with this because I worked at that Cambridge factory here in Canada, and maybe that makes me a little bit biased, I don't know. All we know for sure is those Japanese plants for Lexus and Toyota over in Japan, they became so famously attentive to detail for a number of reasons. One of them is the production system itself, the Toyota Way. If you haven't read that book, it's an awesome book. There's some great videos on YouTube about it as well. And the Toyota Way talks about perfecting that production system, and that has been used in so many different industries around the world, hospitals, schools, everything. And because of it's a process driven, there's all these little things like Kaizen and continuous improvement and all those other things. And that really helped the quality in Japan. But also the people in Japan are absolutely one of a kind. Here are some of the hardest working individuals on this planet. Some of them don't even take a sick day for 30 years and live to work. And because of that, we've created these amazing products out of them. They take such pride in their work. So that is going for Japan. I absolutely get that. Here in Canada, it is a different culture, absolutely. However, us Canadians are still proud. We're still proud people and we're proud of what we do. And what I found at the Lexus plant was those engineers and those ASMs and those managers did a great job of instilling those processes of production into us on the assembly line. And what I mean by that is the spirit of Kaizen, the way that you would really check every bolt 10 times before the end of the assembly line. And what I mean by that is literally if someone that was like 4 or 5 processes ahead of me put a bolt in, chances are the next number of people or processes are checking that bolt to make sure that it's tight, or checking that connection, et cetera, et cetera. And all of this stemmed from what we saw in Japan with some of those Japanese built vehicles. And because of that, we have our Cambridge plant, which now also the NX is made in. And that Cambridge plant has won countless platinum awards and gold awards from JD Power and all these other companies. And when you go there, it's in the culture. Like the people that maybe have worked at some of the domestic brands and now work at that factory will tell you it is a different vibe here. So yes, Japan is next level when it comes to quality. That Cambridge plant with the RX and now the NX is still next level as well, especially versus anything else that we've seen out of North America. So what I'm saying is don't discount it and don't compare it to anything else in North America in terms of production, and think of it as the little sibling to those Japanese factories that have been perfected over decades and decades. So I hope that helps. I'm Dustin Mason from Performance Lexus. Thank you for watching this video. Thank you for the comments. I know it's the same number of people that are watching these videos, and I love that. And I always will try to read the comments and definitely respond when I can. So thank you, and I'll see you in the next video.